Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. One of the main things that you should pay attention when you listen or you watch the news is how Iran will be framed. Right now they are trying to build a momentum in pointing out that Russia is using Iranian drones, therefore Iran is violating some United Nations charter, helping a country that was condemned, blah blah blah, something like that. It doesn't really matter. They don't need logical or real justification to say things, but just pay attention how the calls for Iran being sanctioned, and who knows, maybe the right to be slapped around intensify. One of these ways is by the new, how should I put it, mass protests in Iran, which have no doubt about being organized or supported by outside forces. That always happens, especially when there's so much interest in destabilizing a country and overthrowing a government. Iran will never have peace with the West unless they do what it's expected, which is be a whore, like Russia was between 1991 until 1999. Remember Yeltsin's years. And the same thing is expected of Russia now with all this. It's not about Ukraine and Zelensky and blah blah blah. This, unfortunately, the Ukrainian nation is just used, and they will die, and they will from 40 million they will be about, I don't know, 18 million, and that's fantastic because it's easier to maneuver 18 million than to maneuver 40 million from the perspective of business interests. That's one aspect. The other one is look at how much they would make a connection between the civilian killed by Iranian drones used by the Russians, and that would the aim of that is to create a little connection between civilian death, which is a war crime, drones come from Iran. Obviously Iran is a war criminal right here. And you will always have the issue of the nuclear reactors in Iran, which are, I think they were built by the Russians, and they are supplied by the Russians. And that's always going to be a problem as long as they will not have the Americans control it whatsoever, or the Israeli, doesn't matter, one of the two. Now Israel will not allow Iran to develop in any way, socially, economically and militarily, for its own interest, which is understandable. Understandable why? Because each country should look for its own interest first, and it's all safety and defense. In this case, Israel, who is the only one who has nuclear weapons in the area, is afraid of Iran. Okay. Anyway, so I will be surprised if in the next, I don't know, week, I give it a week, it's within a week, there will not be some resolution brought up at the United Nations regarding condemning Iran and trying to put Iran on whatever list. I would again foresee that the Western few countries will push for sanctions on Iran for the drones, and basically Iran will be just zoomed in. Now I don't know if will be any military retaliation from anybody against Iran. As I said, Iran is not Iraq with 20 million people. It's 80 million people, 80 I think, 80 million people. And as well as it's not it's a big country, so it's not easy to occupy it. Now Another aspect regarding Iranians, connection with Ukraine would be the attempts of Ukraine for so long to have Israel being involved on their side. It's a little bit, it would have been too obvious if, for instance, Israel would have supported Ukraine from the very beginning, just like that, because as you probably know, the 4 guys in charge of Ukraine are Jews. So you have Zelensky, a Jew, you have Jmihal, right? He's a Jew. Then you have the defense minister Reznikov, Oleksiy Reznikov, a Jew, and you got the chief of staff or the president's office chief, or however, something like that, Yermak with K at the end. So you got Yermak, Reznikov, Jmihal, and you have Zelensky, out of which only one was elected, and that one appointed the rest. What a coincidence. Okay, and nevertheless, it would have been too obvious if Israel would have provided support from the very beginning to those 4 guys, because you would say, oh, to Ukraine. Okay, I would not take it like that. I would take it as I think it is. So now, obviously, the Ukrainian, I don't want to say Ukrainian leadership, the guys who represent Ukraine, not who are in charge. The guys who are in charge are here, United States of America. These guys are in charge, not in Paris, not in London, not in Berlin or Rome. Okay, we got that set aside here. Now, obviously, these guys who are the representatives of the Ukrainian nation in Kiev, they will, use their trumpets to say, look, Iranian drones, they are involved here, we need air defense, and look, the bad Iranians and Israel, now you can help us because you don't like Iranians, you have a problem with them, they have a problem with you, so how about you come over? And it's a little bit strange that Ukrainians are saying, you see, Iran provides drones, Russia purchases those drones. It's not an aid, if you know where I'm going with this, right? They purchase those weapons, and that's been happening in Ukraine since before the February 24th. The West was arming Ukraine. Ukraine military was killing its own citizens of Russian descent in the eastern Ukraine. So with whose weapons? And they were not killing the soldiers over there. Okay, they were killing civilians as well. That's fact. It's a fact. It's not me just pulling information out of my ass. And that was with American weaponry. Even now, they use American weapons to, from time to time. I don't believe that the Ukrainians are not hitting civilians. That would be an impossibility. Okay, so willingly or accidentally, they kill civilians. That's happening in any war that you going to witness. That's another thing. And an extra thing is, remember when they were they were claiming, and with evidence, that a lot of Russian high-tech missiles or weapons have foreign parts. So foreign parts like, I think it was from Switzerland, South Korea, Germany, I think it was from Ireland. There was a list about, 6 months ago when they said, hey, what's going on? They're going to run short on missiles because they have a lot of foreign parts. Now, what should we do with the countries that provided those parts to, and I think still provide those parts to Russia? And if they don't, what are we going to do? Say, okay, they stopped, so they're okay? And I don't think they stopped providing, but who knows, if you go like this, you always have, nothing is like clear cut. Russia is buying for those guys. Those guys are not supposed to sell it. Is that what it is? Okay, they're not supposed to sell it. Then what about the other ones? When there was no war, the Ukrainian army was blowing up its population of Russian descent in East Ukraine. That's why Russians claim that was genocide. About 15,000 people died over there from 2014 until 2021. So they say, well, it was genocide. We had to intervene. Whose weapons were they using? Only the Ukrainian army weapons? So you see, things are not so easy to, this is white, this is black. But just pay attention on how much propaganda will be and how things will focus on Iran. And Iran, this, Iran, that. 15 Iranian drones were shot down, 15 drones flew over there, they delivered 3 more drones, Iranian drones. That would be the word. The key word would be everywhere Iran or Iranian. I will just, of course, pay attention and on these things, but that's the way I think we're going to have from now until the Western countries and Israel will, start imposing sanctions and resolutions and maybe preemptive strikes, if you know what I mean. Thank you for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.